right, shalom, shalom. First things first, I'm going to give all honor and praise unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rash. We say, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahushai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahushai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rash. And we give double honor to our apostles and our elders, which are the apostle elders, a great millstone, which feed us with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahushai. 2025, which is the hopeful year of our deliverance and the destruction and the judgment of Esau. Let's jump into this. This is a World War III update to show you that World War III is full speed ahead. You've seen the atomic clock been changed. You've seen everything happening, but you got this false promises from the current Caesar sitting on the throne that he's going to be able to stop this war, and it's not going to happen. All right, because it's not just a men's war. This is a biblical war. This is a war to end all wars. This is a prophetic war. This is a war that was prophesied to come. All right, and this is the time that we're living in because this is the judgment time. All right, so I got a few videos and a few articles to share. The first video we're going to look at is Scott Ritter, which he pretty much has his nose in the grindstone when it comes to these powers. He knows a lot about Russian weaponry and Russian technology. He's an ex-nuclear inspector to Iran, even also too. He has that under his belt. But the main point is that he sees what does it say? You can fool some people some of the time. You can't fool everybody all of the time. He has inside knowledge when it comes to these programs, these land masses, how they conduct themselves. Right now, Russia's won pretty much. They've won the areas that matter when it comes to Ukraine. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket when it comes to soil. It's called black gold, if I'm not mistaken. We'll look it up. Hold on, let's look it up. Because Ukraine has a very high, its landmass has a lot of materials. Let's go. Ukraine. Oh, let's go. Zelensky. Europe cannot guarantee Ukraine's security without America. See that? We'll look into that a little bit. It says Zelensky, Europe cannot guarantee Ukraine's security without America. So they're trying to drag Babylon into this war. And then you have the other side of things with the Israelis, where they're pushing Iran also. When Trump said he's going to take over Gaza, that's pretty much inching closer to the war with Iran because Gaza is controlled by proxies of Iran. It says if Donald Trump withdraws U.S. support from Ukraine, Europe alone will be unable to fill the gap. Vladimir Zelensky has warned on the eve of what could be the most consequentially diplomatic trip since Russia's full-scale invasion 3 years ago. So this guy is pretty much, he knows that it's a wrap when it comes to this war. And what we're pushing now, we're at the end. We're coming towards the end of the skirmish. What they think is because the end of the skirmish is war. It's all-out war. It's no more proxies. It's no more so-called shadow war, no internet. I mean, you're going to have a lot of technology, internet warfare, where you go to shutting down systems. That's a part of modern warfare. But it says the country has titanium reserves, mostly located in the northern, western, and central regions, while lithium is found in the century east and southeast. See? Let's say Ukrainians vast. Let's do this. Vast. See, Trump demands $500 billion in rare earth from Ukraine for continued support. See? So they're telling you why they're in Ukraine, not just because of the push closer to Russia. It has a lot of earth minerals that can push Russia ahead or push Russia in a more powerful position than Babylon, because Babylon has certain materials, but it doesn't have the resources and the things that they need to continue that hegemony. And it's that dollar starts dropping. The value of it is only held up now by military might. Okay, Trump demands $500 billion in rare earths from Ukraine for continued support. America's supports for Ukraine has price tag 500 billion worth of mineral riches, said U.S. President Donald Trump. In the second part of the interview on Fox News that aired late Monday, the Republican said the U.S. should get a slice of Ukraine's vast natural resources as compensation for the hundreds of billions it has spent to help Kiev resist Russia's full-scale invasion. I told them Ukraine that I want the equivalent I want the equivalent like 500 billion worth of rare earth, and they've essentially agreed to do that so at least we don't feel stupid, Trump said. So he's continuing this because if he stops it, he's not going to get that. He's not going to get that 500 billion because Russia's going to take it. Because once Ukraine collapses, what do you think? Russia knows exactly where these places are at. Just the situation in Africa, just to speak on the blood mine, the blood diamonds. What was the first thing that was taken over in the Civil War? Was the areas that were rich in diamonds. That goes into the Beer family, the Rothschilds. They knew exactly who to send these rebels, what to take over, and then once the smoke cleared, the American shell companies and the places that could mine these diamonds and use these resources took it over. So that's why it says woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his. Okay, so this is a mineral war to shadow war to power war, control, because once you control these elements, especially lithium, you control the future of development. All right, because those are going to be worth, that's just raw. That's just the raw minerals. So what happens when those minerals are broken down, they're processed, and they're put into use? They're going to be worth more than that. That's just the base model. That's just the raw minerals. And then once they use it, fix it up, put it in the technology and sell those technologies for cost, then they're going to increase that value even more. So it can be up to 100 billion, or it could be up to a million, a million billion. It's like a trillions. Okay. So this is the thing that's moving. So let's go back to this video, and Scott Ritter is going to speak on it because he has insight. He knows how military works. He was in Babylon. He was in Babylon's military. So he's not speaking as an outsider. He's speaking as somebody that has foreknowledge of how things go.
First of all, we have to talk about the preposterous notion that Donald Trump believes he has any leverage over Vladimir Putin. I don't know what Trump thinks his role is here. He has tried to distance himself from the Russian-Ukrainian conflict by saying that had he been president in 2020, had he won the 2020 election and been president in 2021, that this war would never have happened. He wouldn't have allowed it to happen. And Vladimir Putin, I think, in an effort to stroke Donald Trump's ego, has insinuated the same thing, except that's not the case. I mean, let's be honest. This is Donald Trump's war. The troop movement that the Russians were doing back in the spring of 2021 is because of policies enacted by the United States regarding Ukraine during Donald Trump's presidency. Let's never forget that it was under Donald Trump in 2000.
What's coming out now is that they have found money going back to the overthrow and the diplomatic regime change in Ukraine through proxies and through aid. So with this new thing with Elon Musk digging up all this money and going into the records, pretty much auditing the American books, they found that a lot of these aid companies, these aid places, one of the aid places had more budget than the CIA. They were using aid as a cover story to overthrow governments and to place people in there. I think Newland was one of the ones that were hand-picked the cabinet of Ukraine. You know, what is another country picking the leadership? Like you picking a team, the dream team, you picking the people you want to be in there, okay? And they put in that chocolate guy first, and then Zelensky came in, and he's been there ever since. So I've been watching it, since the protest in Ukraine. I mean, it was a piece that we didn't know was going to be used as it is today. But I remember watching and doing stories about the Ukrainian takeover because that was intensifying things. Now we're way beyond that. When Ukraine, they played the card, and the whole time that they were setting this up to move closer and to have an incursion. So this was already planned. The great saying, all wars are banker wars. So this is a power struggle. All right. So let's keep playing.
17, that the U.S. Army began training in Western Ukraine, 1 battalion of Ukrainian troops every 55 days for the stated purpose of going east to fight the Russians to liberate the Donbass. That was the mission of the American forces. Under Donald Trump, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Javelin missiles, Stinger missiles, and other military equipment were provided to Ukraine. Under Donald Trump, Russia was subjected to stringent economic sanctions because of their reaction to the right-wing Banderist Nazis seizing power in February 2014 and attempting to eradicate the Russian-speaking populations of Crimea and the Donbass. Under Donald Trump, the fraud of Minsk was continued, was perpetrated. Donald Trump knew that Angela Merkel and Francois Hollande and then later Emmanuel Macron weren't serious about going forward with Minsk. He knew that it was a sham. He knew that it was simply to buy.
So the long story, you can continue to watch this. Fair use, fair use. This is for educational purposes only. But this war ain't going nowhere. Okay, this guy's not going to be able to calm it down the way that he thinks. All right, so let's pull up some of these articles. It says Moscow claims Kiev's plotting to drag NATO into the war. Iran front page. It says Moscow claims Kiev's plotting to drag NATO into war. Ukraine's special services and Western support are preparing for several high-profile provocations to implicate Moscow and draw NATO into a direct military confrontation, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Services, SVR, has claimed. So they're hearing it through the grapevine. That's why putting it out before it happens, that sort of stifles it. So when it does, then they can say, hey, we told people it wasn't us. Okay, they're trying to cross their I's and dot their T's, if you want to say that, if I said that right. But it says in a statement on Tuesday, the SVR claimed that Kiev plans to use Russian-made naval mines to orchestrate an explosion involving a foreign vessel in the Baltic Sea. And the alleged goal is to blame Moscow and prompt NATO to restrict Russia's access to the Baltic on the pretext of ensuring maritime security. And what are they really doing? They're cutting off the ghost vessels because Russia's been sending oil through ghost vessels, unregistered vessels that are going to these places, so Russia can continue to make that money off of this oil trade. So with them cutting off the Baltic's access, that means they're trying to stop Russia's production of oil, period, because that's their bloodline when it comes to having money keep coming into Russia. The pipelines are being destroyed. All these things they're isolating it. So Russia's running out of moves and they're running out of, strategies, okay, because they're trying to push the hand. And it says the alleged goal is to blame Moscow and prompt NATO to restrict Russia's access to the Baltic on the pretext of ensuring maritime security. NATO has been increasing its military activities along Eastern Europe's border in recent years, citing security concerns over Russia. Last month, it announced plans to expand its presence in the Baltic Sea, launching a new mission to safeguard undersea infrastructure, those wires, those pipelines, the so-called internet access are all underwater. So all these things are prime targets for either side to take. Going back to the Nord Stream pipeline, the Nord Stream pipeline was supposedly attacked and was destroyed. So these are high-level moves that we way beyond the point of no return. There is no going back. You can't undo what has been done. Okay, these are high-level assets that have been taken out, that have been destroyed, that have been hindered. Okay, so there's no forgetting and no letting it go and forgetting. All right, Russia has no choice but to move forward for its own survival, and that's what its nuclear doctrine says. If you read the nuclear doctrine and it's been changed, it says that they can attack if they feel that things are not even just to take over their landmass or the survival of Russia, but just intimidation tactics alone can get nuclear weapons sent off. So we're at that door, man. That's why we're waiting on the MOTB. Okay, we're waiting on these things to come down the pike, and once it comes down the pike, then these prophecies are going to be set. It says NATO has been increased. Says Russia, which perceives the Baltic Sea as a strategic area for its naval operations and energy exports. Exactly what I said. The oil has vowed to do everything necessary to protect its interests. Last year, Nikolai Patrushev, the former head of the Russian Security Council, who currently serves as the aide to President Vladimir Putin, warned that NATO is using its newest member, Sweden and Finland, to turn the Baltic into an internal sea under Western control. Moscow has stressed that it has no intention of attacking any NATO member states, but has criticized the military buildup on its border. It has also warned that direct confrontation between Russia and NATO could escalate into a nuclear conflict, adding that it will respond to any hostile moves. Okay? So no going back. They're not stopping, man. Okay? And then you have this, let me put this up. Hold on. Right here. Ukraine war latest. Putin now not prepared for peace as his forces pound Kiev in deadly attack. So they ain't preparing for peace. They're not going back. This is 1 week ago from Yahoo. Why it's too late to stop World War III, according to one of Britain's greatest military historians. Imagine for a moment that the Ukraine government announces that it has developed a nuclear bomb and threatens to use it on Israel, on Slovakia. Yep, on Israel. The United States reacts with a threat of military intervention, as it did in 1991 and 2003 in Iraq. Iran signals that it will not tolerate a third Gulf War and looks for allies. America's forces mass to enter Iran, which orders national mobilization. Russia, China, North Korea expressed their support for Iran, and Washington expands its intervention forces, bringing in a British contingent. Russia enters the game, raising the stakes in expectations that the West will back down. A nuclear standoff follows. But with these tensions and itchy fingers on both sides, as leaders gamble on the risk of not striking first, it all ends in disaster. The Third World War begins with an exchange of nuclear fire, and the rest, as they say, is history. It says, or picture this. These are just hypothetical things, but the main point in this article is that this war ain't going nowhere, man. Okay, World War III is being talked about on a high level. It's never been talked about this much ever. Okay, and then you have the situation now where Kiev is being pounded. It says at least one person dead after Russian missile attacks start several fires in Kiev. Russia ballistic missiles attack Kiev, kills 1, injures 4. Russia launches, this is 3 hours ago. This is the most recent update on this news story. Let's go to news right here. It says Russia's ballistic missile attack on Kiev kills 1 and injures 4. Deadly Russian missile drone attack hits Kiev. And Russia's been getting pounded, man. Their vital infrastructure when it comes to their energy, the oil pipeline, their oil stocks, they're being bombed, they're being hit constantly. I think one day was like 100 drones, man. But they're not telling you that on the news. This is all out war. It's a ghost war, man. What would 100 missiles? This is what those drones symbolic, because that's the new modern warfare. If 100 missiles were flying into a country, that's war. That's not no light thing. That's a war, and it's happening multiple times a day, if not multiple times a week, on high levels like that. But every day, every other day, they're at least getting hit with some kind of drone attack. And then now you got the HIMARS, you got the ATACMS, you got all these missiles that are being fired from Ukraine. So Russia's at a point of their back is against the wall, man. Okay? So let's get some precepts and we're going to close on out. This is the book of Revelation 11 and 14, and it says the second terror is past, but look, the third terror is coming quickly, and is woe, which is war. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So these are things to prepare, man. But these are for our salvation. It's not for us to be scared, man. What's being scared if we got to stay here and be involved and being desensitized when it comes to sin? And that's what the MOTB is going to be. That means you're going to choose this place as your master. You're going to choose these bankers as your Lord, and under the penalty of death. But the apostles and the elders did the same. Look at this, the 7 sons of Maccabees. That was under the penalty of death, man. Okay, to break the law. Because the law involves you doing something that's immoral, okay, against the code and ethic when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord has set up. So if you do these things, you're innocent, okay? This is Revelation 8 and verse 13. It says, and as I observed, I heard an eagle flying overhead. And what's the animalistic sound of the America? Is the eagle. Okay, that's why this Super Bowl, it was symbolic that the Eagles won, because and then Trump was there, so it was all a psyop, calling in a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to those that dwell on the earth, because the trumpet blast about to sound by the remaining 3 angels, and it's going into the third woe. All right, and then you're gonna have the vials that are poured out, the trumpets that are blown, and that's gonna be the end. All right. If you read Revelation 19, all these things are being set up. Revelation 9 and verse 12, it says, the first woe is past. Behold, the third woe is still to follow. Matthew 24, 21 to 22. For at that time there shall be great tribulation unseen from the beginning of the world. Even now, you got drones. Never would the prophets seen drones being used in warfare at a high level. This is things that have never been seen before, man. Missiles that can drop at the speed of supersonic sound, and it's never been seen on the earth, man. When the Russia let off that ICBM missile, it shook the whole earth, man. And that wasn't even a nuclear tip one. And it says the world until now never seen to be again, because after this, the Lord even said it, that the weapons will be burned for a span of a year, if I'm not mistaken. If those days have been not cut short, nobody would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. And that's why time is speeding itself up. That's why you have a influx in what you call days are going back weeks. Weeks are going by fast, man. Weeks are going by fast as hell. Like a week feels like 4 days, man. All right. And especially if you work, it definitely speeds itself up. This is Zephaniah 1 in verse 14, and it says, a terrible day of the Lord is near. Swiftly it comes, a day of bitter tears, a day even of the strong men will cry out. Because it's one thing to talk about nuclear weapons, but when you see them flying in the air and you see them coming at you, you can't do much, man, unless you're in a bunker. And if you're not in the bunker, you're in the open air, that's a bad deal for you, man. That is a bad deal for you. So the time we had now is to prepare, and we're not to fear. That's what the Lord said. Don't fear. Don't fear those things that you see coming upon the earth, because these must come to pass. These things must come to pass, but the end is not nigh. That's why we keep our faith. We keep locked in. We say prayers. We send up prayers. We stay prayed up. We stay in the information. That's why the apostle said if guys fall out, because they don't check things out. You can clearly see the end is coming, man. It's manifest in Habakkuk. It says, though it tarry, wait for it. It shall surely come. It shall not tarry. All right. So give yourself the opportunity because if you know and understand this truth and understand the prophecies of this truth, that's the main important. That's why it says the spirit of the Lord is the spirit of prophecy. Because what was Yahushua saying? He was speaking prophecy, prophetic things. He just told you in Matthew, he prophesied the end of the world. Okay. Because he was the prophet of prophets. Same thing with John. Okay, one of the greatest prophet among men. The Lord, like it says, the Lord's men, they prophesy, man. They tell you to say, this word prophecy means to say before. So all these things are happening, and they're coming. They're at the door. They're not tarrying. This is Isaiah 13 and verse 4, and it says, hear the noise of the mountains. Listen as the vast armies march. It is the noise and the shouting of many nations. The Lord of heaven's armies has called his army together. And he has those missiles as an army and these nations. because he's mustering the host of the battle. It says the sound of a tumult in the mountains, like that of many people, a sound of the uproar of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts is mustering an army for battle. So that's why it's Exodus 15, it says the Lord is a man of war, the Lord is his name. So all these things are being orchestrated because prophecy is being fulfilled. That's why Nebuchadnezzar seen the statue, which was a statue of succession of nations that would come back to back until the final nation, and those were encompassed thousands of years. It didn't happen right then. So now we're coming to the end, the feet, the 10 toes, mildly, they're partly strong and partly weak, going into NATO, EU, okay, all these places that have been coming together. That's why you hear NATO coming against Russia, and they're both nuclear armed factions, okay, and then you have the BRICS, that's the other side with Russia and their allies. So everything is set up just like the scripture said. That's why you know the Bible is real, okay, and everything that was prophesied is getting ready to come. You hear legacy standard, Yahweh. They say Yahweh, but it's Yahweh, okay? So let's get some more precepts and we'll close on out because men are doing what the Lord wants them to do. They're not doing their own thing. This is Proverbs 20 and verse 24. As it reads, it says, men's goings of the Lord, how can a man then understand his own ways? That's how the Lord is mustering, okay? So if we go right back here and it says what? King James. What's the word mustering? Let's look it up. Search the web. Mustereth. It says mustering is a verb that appears in the King James Bible that means assemble in respect of number. See? To symbol of troops for review or review of troops under armies. And that's what you see. Armies are being assembled right now. All right? And we're at the door of this thing, man. So I'm going to end it there. Lord willing, edifying lesson with that. I want to say call halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, Wadash. Until the next time, I say shalom and more now to never keep faith. We're at the door of this thing. Keep watching. The MOT is around the corner. All right, with this digital currency. Say no to it because the world to come is it's unspeakable, man. So for those that are of the elect and the Lord has chosen, and we are living in, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. We're living in the most greatest times to be alive. All right, so with that, I say shalom and more now than ever keep faith. Shalom.